Peace Queen. It's Melissa Crawford of thequeencode.com, and the message today is part 2 in the Queen Ascension series. So last week we started this new series that I called Queen Ascension, in other words, Queen's Rising. And if you haven't seen video 1 in this series, I do encourage you to go to my YouTube channel at the Queen Code and to watch that video. You don't have to watch that one first, but it is good to go back and watch it because I explain a little deeper the reason why I'm doing this series, and I go a little deeper into why it's so important right now in this year and also in this season. But just to do a quick recap, I talked about 2014 being the year of great intention. It is the year where we are supposed to align greater with who we're really called to be. And once we align, once we get into divine alignment, what happens is we experience an up-leveling. We're up-leveling as we're aligning, but once we get to a certain place, once we get to a certain point in our journey, it's like we reach a new dimension. And I talked about dimensions in the last video and how dimensions are literally like worlds. People talk about dimensions all the time. I'm going to the next dimension, but a dimension is real. It's like another world. And right now on this planet, we are currently in the third dimension. And the third dimension is basically, we've been here, humanity has been here for about 2,000, 3,000 years, depending on, how you look at history. But the third dimension is really that solar plexus energy. It's that go forth, individualistic, conquer, do it, get it done, push forward. It's a masculine energy. And in this three-dimensional period, we've achieved some great things. We've had great technologies and innovations and inventions. But the downside to the third dimension is that it really is a dimension that's ruled by fear. And with fear comes lack and limitation and pain and bondage. And so, the third dimension has really been almost like hell on earth. But the good news is right now we're up-leveling to a new place, to a new world. And that's the fourth dimension. That's more of heart. And even if you don't quite understand third dimension or fourth dimension, we can all feel it. It's that growing desire to want to know who you are and why you're here. The fourth dimension is characterized by fulfillment and peace and freedom and belonging and connection. And basically it's a more feminine energy. And so it's also that place where we're beginning to come into the awareness that all things truly are possible. And so the fourth dimension that we're elevating to is more like heaven on earth. So as I explained in the last video, we're not supposed to just, say, the third dimension is bad and fourth dimension is good. No, it's really about taking what we've learned, the power that we've learned in the third dimension, but upgrading it to a place of purpose. So it's about integration, right? So that's the basic backdrop for the Queen Ascension. And what I wanted to do in this series is to really give you a clear distinction between what I call the third dimension queen and the fourth dimension queen. Because right now, as you're experiencing this up-leveling, you may be going through some things that you're not quite sure of because new things are being done a new way. So I want to give you some clarity about where you are and what you're going through. But I also want to give you some clarity so you can make a clear decision about where you want to be. All right? So again, this is the distinction between the third, like what I call the third D or the 3D queen and the 4D queen. All right? So in part 1, I talked about 3D queen. She wants to know her purpose. She is desiring to know her purpose, but she's not necessarily on fire about it. living her dreams and actually operating in her purpose is more like an option. Maybe she'll, do it in this lifetime, maybe she won't. But the 4D queen is different. She has an insatiable desire to know her purpose. She's on fire to know her purpose. She understands that her purpose is the only reason why she's here. And so she is turning over rocks, investing in herself, doing whatever she needs to do to understand her purpose. And once she knows her purpose, she's thriving in it, and she's operating in it. So that was part 1. Now part 2, the distinction between 3D and 4D. And by the way, like I said, this is really not to shame. There's some things that I'm going to describe in 3D that, you may see yourself there. But you can always make a different choice and cross over to the next level, okay? So in part 2, 3D queen, the part I want to bring attention to, she is a woman who feels like she needs to ask for permission to be who she is. She's a woman that's seeking the approval and validation of others. She's seeking validation from without. So she may have a really great desire to do something, but she may be kind of timid because maybe the people around her may not approve of it. Or maybe the people around her don't think it's a great idea. So she allows their opinions to get her to a point where she's second guessing. Okay, so that's the 3D queen. She is basically validated from without. And as a result, she becomes emotionally unstable. She gets to a point where she is easily moved by, what a person says. So her days, whether she's happy or not, is dependent on what someone says to her on the outside. That's the 3D queen. On the 4D queen side, it's different. The 4D queen is a woman who is validated from within. She understands that there's nothing in the world that can give her that safety net, that foundation, that groundedness, like the kingdom within. And so she's the kind of woman that when she gets an idea, a divine idea to do something, even if she has the entire world against her, if she knows that it's a spiritual thing, that it's God approved, she's going to go for it no matter what. She's validated from within. And as a result, she's an established woman. She's a woman that stands her ground. She's a woman that knows her principles, knows her values, and she lives her life by them. And so I'll tell you a quick story. 9 years ago now, when I was graduating from college, I got this vision, and I talk about it in my book, From Good to Great, but I got this vision that instead of becoming an attorney and going to law school, that I was supposed to do something different. I wanted to go into business for myself, just doing something that was surrounded by my dreams. I didn't have the full picture, the full view, but it was clear to me that I was supposed to pursue something else. And I knew that in my gut, in my womb, in my heart, I knew that. But it wasn't easy when I made the decision not to go to law school, because for a lot of people in my family, my friends, it seemed like such a sure thing. And I literally had to stand, I felt by myself initially on that decision, knowing that it was a God thing, an inner thing, a spiritual thing. I heard it from within. And so I didn't have, at first, a lot of people on the outside that could validate that. But I moved by spirit anyway. And it led me from that place to where I am now. And so I share that with you because, I want you to basically see the distinction between the two. I could have been caught up and said, and felt insecure, right? And said, oh, I better go to law school because, what are other people going to say? What are they going to think? But true security can only be found within. There is nothing in this world that can give you security. Everything we see in the world is all manifestations of something that's going on within each and every one of us. So, Queen, what's the decision that you're going to make? Are you going to be a queen in the wilderness, basically, in bondage, constantly worrying about what other people think about you? Or will you rise and elevate to being completely a 4D queen, a fourth dimensional queen that's validated from within, and therefore she's established and she lives from that grounded place? You get to choose. Right now we're in an energy where we're being asked to choose. We can no longer afford to straddle the fence and have one foot in and one foot out. You have to choose. And so again, that's why I'm presenting this series to you, to give you some clear distinction, okay? So that's part 2 of the Queen Ascension series. And in the meantime, I do have a wonderful gift for you. If you go over to my website at www.thequeencode.com, you can get your copy of the free audio, Reign as Queen in 2014. And in that audio, I speak more about basically what it means for us right now, the queens, in this year, and how this energy is so powerful. We really have to grab onto it. This is the year of great intention. So become more intentional about who you were called to be. Become more intentional about who God made you to be, okay? So again, to get that free audio, all you simply have to do is go to www.thequeencode.com, and I'll talk to you soon.